Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining this month's live. We're going to be talking all about how to be intentional. All this month, our content was about small changes that have big impacts. We talked about overreacting and psychological safety, team norms that help embrace growth, not being an a-hole. All of these things require you to be intentional, which is why we're culminating in the live with this topic. Super excited because we've got Brian here from PortX Logistics. I'm going to let him introduce yourself, but he's an exceptional leader doing amazing things in the space. And we're going to have a really fun combo. So Brian, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself and PortX Logistics.
Sure. Well, small changes, big impact, right? Every single day, as I intro myself, I grew up on a farm, on a dairy farm, upstate New York. Like, you really have to work every single day. And that's something that I try to bring to PortX Logistics is we work hard, we're authentic, we're real people. And, we try to bring it every single day. We like to say we bring the weird and the wow. We're normal people doing extraordinary things is what I believe. Who am I? I'm the founder of PortX Logistics. I started my business career when I was 19 because I needed a job in college and I was broke. I found myself in the logistics industry. I started my first business at 23. I sold it at 30. I did some consulting work. I started PortX Logistics October 2nd of 2017. And we specialize in drayage, transloading, and trucking at every port and rail ramp in the United States and Canada. And we believe that we've built the gold standard in our business. And not just, hey, do we pick up and deliver on time? We're good humans. We do good work. We have great technology. And we try culture, service, tech, and trucks are the four foundational pillars. In many companies, they could have a great culture. They could have trucks. They could have tech. They could have service. But putting all of them together has really been our secret sauce. So that's really what we focused on. For 6 years, we built an incredible organization, I think an incredible brand, and we are known as the gold standard in our business. So it's been a great ride. I've had the opportunity to do it twice. So it's a little easier the second time because you know everything not to do. And as Jess and I have talked about, when you get to 40 years old, your conviction becomes much, much stronger. And we had great conviction going into PortX.
No, that's amazing. And I love the weird and the wow because it really allows you to show up as your whole self. Part of my intentions for the year is to show up whole in each and every interaction, and just having a place where you can do that really can change the game. When I navigate to the PortX website, like before we first talked, the very first word I saw on the webpage was culture. And you've sort of started talking about it a little bit, but what is the PortX culture and why do you think that that's critical to success? Why is that the first word that I see when I hit PortX's website?
Well, it's for us internally. It's for the partners and the people that work at PortX. If it's not fun, I don't want to do it. I don't need practice, and I want this to be an enjoyable part of my career and my life. And you talk about intention, right? Like this is it's my intention. It's my this is my whole deal, my whole life, what I do. Like, this isn't just a job for me. This is what I believe in and what I love. And I mean, these people are my brothers and sisters, and I would go to war with them. And on the other end of the table, the customers, like, they're also some of my greatest friends are my customers. And I've maybe have dealt with them for 5 years to 20 years. Some of them came to my wedding. Like, this isn't just a business transaction. This is something that I want to be enjoyable for everybody that is involved with PortX. And that, comes back to the culture. So whether you're an employee, a team member, a vendor, a customer, like this is an ecosystem that I'm proud of, and I want to have fun with these people. Like I don't just shut off the phone at 5 o'clock and say, you know what? They paid my bills today. I'll move on tomorrow. Like this is my life.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mention that and say it that way, because what I hear is there's a when you have, well, I guess two things. First off, culture is intentional and it's every day. And the secret to success is actually caring about each individual that you're interacting with, whether that be your customers, your team members, the folks working for you, yourself. Like that's one piece. And that, there is no work-life balance. There's only work-life integration because you're not two people. You're only one person. And again, being able to show up whole, weird, and wow is incredible. So like, is there a part of you that struggles with boundaries in terms of like, no, I'm doing what I love, but also I have to fill my cup? Do you ever struggle with that?
Yeah, 40 is the big thing, right? You've met my friend Dion, and I went through my career thinking that you need to put on this cape and this facade, and this is what I need to do and who I need to be professionally. And after 40, it's like, I don't care about any of that stuff. Like, I want to do what makes me happy. And I love my people. Like, they're my best friends, right? Both sides of the fence. And, I think kind of taking off that, well, it's work-life balance. Like, I always thought that was kind of stupid. And these are my people. And I mean, I'll hang out with them from the time I get up to the time I go to bed. And if they're not good people and they're not good for my life and not good for my business, they probably don't need to be here. So
Yeah.
we have really found, a great dynamic with, even customers. Customers get fired too, right? If you're not good for me or my organization, maybe we don't need the relationship.
Yeah, right. Step one, have an intentional culture. Step two, cultivate the people that will support that, whether that's leadership, employees, or customers, right? Like you didn't find it, you were intentional about building it and selecting it and creating it and bringing it into the fold so that you can continue to show up every day.
Yeah.
You
can't
yourself.
let spreadsheets run your life or your business, right? I'll pick on you. You probably have your MBA. And I always say spreadsheets are for weenies, right? Like we need to evaluate people and customers and fit and culture. Like if all those things are aligning, we'll figure out how to make money. We'll figure out how to make everything else work. But you can't manage by the spreadsheet and then be like, well, that guy's a jerk, but he's a good customer. Like we've always like, is there a good alignment? Do I like this guy? I'll call out this guy. He probably won't mind. One of my favorite customers. In some months, he gives us no business. In other months, he gives us lots of business. Michael Sheppers at DHL. Like if I'm at dinner on a Saturday night, we're shooting him a text of what we're having to dinner and what we're drinking. And it's just, we've created a great relationship, and, we can appreciate each other. Business aside, he knows when I'm a good fit. I know when he's a good fit. And, as long as we have those relationships, all will be good.
Yeah. I mean, I do love spreadsheets, but I do also, I do also love managing, like not ignoring your gut sense. Like this is part of, again, who you are. And it brings experience and wisdom, especially as we get older. Like our gut sense becomes more and more refined, and brings more and more value and more information. And if we stick to the dollars and cents, when we keep that toxic employee who is a high performer but just sucks the life out of the room, we shoot ourselves in the foot. And this happens every day, all the time, in all workplaces, including those that are in logistics and supply chain and transportation.
Well, and as an entrepreneur, I have the privilege of saying, I don't want to be involved with that person, so we're not going to be.
Yeah, that's another reason why I went out on my own. And that part's been great. And again, being able to come together with like-minded individuals and support each other and do interesting things and cultivate intentionality day in and day out. One of your core beliefs, so you list a lot of them. One of them I think is be weird, and I love that. But another one is always be proactive. And logistics is a really reactive, tactical, firefighting space, or it can be. How do you guys make space for being proactive or turning the tables on the way a lot of people do business?
So one of our business partners, his name is Adam Cunningham. He's traveled with me for a long time and worked with me on the sales side. And when we started PortX, he's like, we know that this guy's going to ask us. Jess is going to ask us where the truck is, or where the POD is, or where the invoice is, or was there waiting time? Like, why should we wait for her to ask us the question when we can just tell her before she ever asks us? So when we started PortX, that was part of what we did. Was the customer should never ask us a question, and not because we don't want them to ask us, but our job is to tell them before it ever happens, right? You should never have to ask the PortX team a question. And then we circled that up and we brought in the technology to help provide those updates. You know, as a drayage provider, tracking, do we need to track the steamship line from China to Long Beach on the rail to Denver, and then the pickup, and then the final delivery? We don't have to do that. We're not obligated to do that, but that's making us a better company and a better business by being proactive and saying, here it is. It's all laid out. There's nothing that you should have to ask us. Everything is in your lap before you need it.
Yeah, I love that. And so I talk a lot about the logistics doom loop and all of the disruptions that come into our lives and knock us off course. And again, if we haven't built enough bandwidth to deal with the one-off situations, then we're going to get thrown into chaos, all hands on deck. And this is the loop that a lot of folks in the space find themselves in. But I do fundamentally believe what you guys believe, that if you sit down and think about it and you write your map, you can anticipate 80, 90, 95% of the things that could possibly happen, and then build a system to capture the information around that, which sounds like what you did. And that's caring not only for your customers, but also for your people, right? Because you're giving them.
Yeah, that's the other point, right? We know what the customer expects, but how do we prepare ourselves? If we know that there's 15 containers coming on this vessel and it's due this day and it's floor loaded and we need 300 pallets and we're going to need 15 over the road trucks, we're not waiting until it's customs cleared and then somebody saying, oh, hey, by the way, there's 15 transloads coming your way, containers available tomorrow. We've got labor, pallets, everything is set aside in advance. We're proactively planning to help our customers and also to help ourselves. Who wants that chaos at the last minute?
I mean, everybody, apparently. I guess the question is, are other organizations maybe afraid of a disruption throwing that plan off and maybe costing them a little bit in the exception, and that's why it's not the rule? What's your major motivation to be in this space?
Well, everybody works in silos, right? I think. And, we've tried to, that is not our approach to business whatsoever. The operations person, they're not even in operations. There's no operations. There's no sales. Everybody's in this together. But you're dealing with the same person from start to finish. They're helping you track it when it leaves origin port. We are putting, reporting together as it's on the water. We're making sure that we're proactively planning. We're not saying, okay, well, this is in the steamship line bucket. Now it's in the customs bucket. Now it's in the transloading bucket. Now it's in the trucking bucket. The same person you're dealing with start to finish. And, we just think that that makes a better experience for our customers, and all the handoffs. Every time you hand it off, there's a chance you fumble. Well, we don't hand it off.
Well, and I think, you also enable your team to build relationship that way, right? When I deal with one person instead of 30 people, I can go deep in my relationship with that one person. Did you guys have any volume coming out of Baltimore with the bridge collapse? Of course, that was a tragedy, but it also had an impact in the market. It reverberated. You got stuff moving all over the place, force majeure, general average, all that stuff. Was that a blip on the radar, or were you guys set to handle it?
Yes, and yes. It was a blip, and we're set. As a national drayage, transloading, and trucking company, we have our own assets. We have owner operators. We have a logistics network. So if something is supposed to go to Baltimore, but that it ends up in Norfolk, we're equipped to handle that very, very easily. We can make those adjustments easily. 2023 was a bad year for the transportation business, for drayage, for transloading. So from our perspective, we thrive on this, and we don't mind obviously it was not a great humanitarian thing that happened, but the more chaos and issues and disruptions, whether it's Suez, Panama, Baltimore, we want all that stuff to happen because we're very nimble. And as a national company, well, it was going to go to Seattle, now it goes to LA. It was going to go to Baltimore, now it goes to Norfolk. We can help our customers make that transition seamlessly. And they're like, oh, now it's going here. Okay, well, we'll just take care of it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and being able to stress test your system and see that the processes that you've put in place do serve your customers when the disruption comes, and that builds trust in PortX. It builds trust in your process. It builds trust in your people, into the, basically it builds buy-in into what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we can move on a dime at any time. The unfortunate thing about what we do is we're known as the gold standard. Everybody, I go into 99 out of 100 customer meetings, and you're the best trucker and provider that we've ever dealt with, but you cost more than everyone else. So, unfortunately, you do, if you want to provide service, you do have to cost more, but, we're trying to bring that in. We're investing in more assets. We now have 500 trucks under our umbrella. So we're trying to bring that, cost to service ratio down where we can be, available and affordable for more people in the marketplace. And I think we've done a really good job over the last year. It's been a trying time because 2023 sucked for everybody involved, but we've got that. I think we've got that competitive cost and the service kind of aligned.
Yeah. And that, I say this a lot, but in order to get a return, you have to make an investment. And if you want better providers in the space, you have to support the providers in the space that are better. So that's the push pull in the market, but the disruptions aren't slowing down.
Yeah, no, disruptions will continue to come. And some of the things that we've tried to do for our clients is manage the soft costs. There's nobody that really is bringing drayage as part of your supply chain solution. So if you give us a delivery order 5 days in advance, you get a no demurrage guarantee. We'll also manage your empty containers and make sure that we're trying to mitigate any per diem that's out there. The new OSRA rules that are out there where you've only got 30 days to dispute it. We've got in-gate tickets, out-gate tickets. pictures of e-modal your appointments on the West Coast if there's no appointment available. So we're trying to help these companies really manage the supply chain, where it used to be, hey, your container is customs cleared. Let me call Gary at Gary's Trucking and see if he can pick it up this afternoon. And we've really tried to change that narrative.
Well, I mean, and I've seen a container in a shared yard forgotten about, right? Because it's a shared yard, and $60,000 in per diem later. Like, so I mean, the ROI, it's there on proactive providers that give you the information you need to do your business.
And in general, these BCOs that are negotiating these contracts, that they're paying $60,000 in per diem, and they were negotiating their drayman on a $10 charge to move across the street. You know, it's just
penny wise and pound foolish in some areas. Okay, so another culture, service, tech adoption. What you guys do, tech is central to your mission. Obviously, it enables a lot of what we've been talking about. It gives your people the ability to serve your customers in a wow fashion. You guys are doing real cool stuff with it, right? Real-time visibility, central data repository, 80% less emails. I love emails, but less emails is always better, because then I get to see the emails that are important. What's some of the things that drive adoption with your employees, with your carriers, with your customers, that enable your tech to make a difference?
Well, we talked about being intentional, right? Most people buy technology, whether it's, you know, SAP or Salesforce or whatever they're getting themselves into. We have a gentleman, Tom Zeiss. That's his entire job, is to drive adoption internally, externally, and with our partners. So we realized after 6 months, you can have the greatest tech, you can spend money on tech, but if you're not driving adoption, it gets you nowhere. So we made that, like, that was after 6 months of PortX, it's drive adoption. And then I think the other thing that we realized, and this isn't a phenomenon to us, I think it's the industry, everybody was looking for this silver bullet transportation management system, and there wasn't one, and there isn't one, and there won't be one. So we've taken our technology partners. We have got a great infrastructure at PortX with our technology gurus, but we use Turvo as our TMS. We use OpenTrack to track the containers on the water. We use Splice to do customized reporting, EDI, API integrations. This isn't about one silver bullet. It's about, you know, we're lucky to have a lot of great pieces of technology, but we plugged all the cords together rather than like, oh, we're going to wait for this one perfect system or scenario to happen.
Yeah, I think two things you said that really stuck out to me. One is hiring a person to drive adoption beyond implementation. So that is a thing that you guys do consistently every single day with new customers, with old customers, with new employees, with old employees. You guys are driving that adoption every single day, which allows everyone to benefit, and for those benefits to sort of grow exponentially. But it requires somebody to keep pushing every single day. And I think that's pretty unique.
You talk about penny wise, pound foolish, right? That's the best investment we ever made. Other companies might be like, geez, that's going to cost us some money. Should we do that?
Yeah, for sure. And then unafraid to share your data, to plug in, to integrate, to not own every bit of the IP, right? You're like, hey, what we do well and then what they do well can all work together. And we don't have to, you know, you're not Apple. You don't need a walled garden. Like even Apple eventually learned that they would be better if they opened themselves up to integration with other folks.
I mean, if Apple doesn't have Spotify as an app, like the phone isn't as good, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not listening to the stuff you want to listen to. And I mean, many people don't agree with my business philosophy, but I always say, I'll give you the business plan. I'll tell you what we charge our customers. I'll tell you who our customers are. I'll tell you how we do it. And if you do it better than us, good for you. You deserve to win. And we try to be very open and transparent and intellectual property and customer, like that's just not, I got to do it better than the other guy. And if I can't do it better than the other guy, good for him. He won.
Yeah. And remember, I mean, you guys are doing it better than the other guy through culture. It's not some rocket science, right? You guys are putting effort intentionally into culture each and every day. And it seems like that's the difference maker. That's what allows the waterfall of service tech and trucks to
Yeah. Well,
be the
there's a
gold
reason
standard.
that's the first pillar, right? If the people aren't nice and having fun and enjoying themselves and making it a great environment, like the rest of it just falls flat.
Yeah, what are we even doing? All right, so even when we're intentional and we've built this great culture and good things are happening for us, things still go sideways. When that happens, when you're knocked off course, how do you write yourself again? What do you do?
I mean, I think the relationships that we have make it a little easier to fix things because you're not like walking into a conference room or a Teams meeting and Jordan and Chris are like, this guy's an idiot. I don't believe in him and they don't like this. Like I think we can have a real conversation about, hey, we realize this is going on with this customer. This is, cyclical. We had a conversation this morning. Everybody decentralizes, centralizes, decentralizes. We need to understand that our customer is going through this cycle. It's okay. They're good people on the other end. They're just trying to do the best they can. Let's help them with what they're being governed to do and realize that it's all going to come back full circle and have some perspective about it rather than everybody gets so worked up and emotional and I hate that guy and I hate this guy, and just understanding the business cycle. And I guess that's something that I can bring to the team and some of the younger members is just realize this is a moment in time. This is not forever. And this is how things work. And then we all work through it versus you're super emotional and like, oh, charge them more or cut them off or, so I don't know. I see it in a completely different fashion than probably somebody that hasn't been through 5 cycles like I've been through.
Yeah, and what I heard there is treat people like people. So whether it's folks on your team that need to do better, whether it's somebody at the customer that's having a rough go, like let's just show up and treat each of those humans like the humans they are.
They don't want to do anything bad to us. They like us. They think we're nice people, right? So, but they're faced with challenges on their end, and we have the autonomy and the flexibility to kind of rise above what other people are relegated to on a daily basis.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so those are all the questions I have. We're almost up on time. Thanks everybody for joining. We've had a good, a lot of engagement throughout the live, so we really appreciate that. Brian, where can people find you in the near future?
Yeah, portexlogistics.com, my LinkedIn page, Brian Kempesty. We've got, I think, a lot of great stories. We say story is the strategy. If you haven't read that book, you should look it up because that is kind of our story at PortX is we've given a great story. I've had the fortunate opportunity of growing up on a dairy farm, going to school, getting an internship, leading multiple companies. And it is all about the story and the people and the connections. And as you see behind me, grit, like I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but we all work really hard. We care about each other. And I mean, I think that's the secret to, you know, business and in life in a lot of sense. So
Yeah, I echo that, and I can't one up it. So let's just end on that. Thank you so much for joining today. Super pumped to have you, and you were my first guest, and
all
I
right.
think this went amazing. So thank you,
All
thank
right.
you.
Good job, Jess.